What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Monday, May 27th, 2024, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now, it is noon Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Israel and North Korea. So, starting with Israel, apparently earlier today in Israel, Israeli and Egyptian forces exchanged gunfire near the Rafah border crossing. We're hearing now that as many as 4 Egyptian army soldiers were killed by the Israeli army in this exchange of gunfire near the Rafah border crossing. And according to the Israeli Defense Forces, the Egyptians opened fire first on the Israelis. Okay, so this is huge news, guys. This is just coming out today. Now, yesterday we had a flurry of emergency action messages, and I was listening to them and tracking flights. Yesterday evening, I was actually debating on going live last night, but then the emergency action messages quieted down. But we did have 3 nuclear war command and control planes in the air yesterday evening, one over the Atlantic, one in the Gulf, and one in the Pacific, which is extremely unusual for a holiday weekend. So this is huge news, guys. I told you that there would be some kind of a war between Egypt and Israel again, and it looks like we're seeing the beginning stages of this. Egypt has already moved banned weapons to the Sinai Peninsula. Okay, Egypt signed an agreement with Israel that they would not have certain types of equipment and certain numbers of equipment, military equipment, in the Sinai Peninsula, and they've violated that agreement. And the excuse that they're using for violating that agreement is because Israel went into Rafah, and Israel's operation in Rafah is going to threaten Egypt's sovereignty. So now Egypt is moving tanks and missiles and helicopters and all kinds of military hardware into the Sinai Peninsula. And now we have this shooting incident on the border between Israeli army and Egyptian army forces. 4 Egyptian soldiers killed, supposedly. Okay. We're still waiting for more information to come out. That's all I have for you right now at the moment. And the Jerusalem Post has reported that Israeli troops carried out exercises that simulate warfare deep inside Lebanese territory. And apparently, mosques in the West Bank are calling for a war with the IDF. Okay. They're calling for mobilization and a war against the IDF, Israeli Defense Forces. And what you're looking at is video footage coming out of Japan showing what appears to be some type of a large kaboom over the island of Okinawa. Now, North Korea tested some kind of a missile earlier this morning, and late last night, the Japanese put out a warning that North Korea was going to test some kind of a missile, and that the Japanese air defenses were on high alert. There was a NOTAM that was posted. So the NOTAM was posted for the airspaces around the Japanese islands of Nahashi, Miyakojima, Ishigakijima, and Yonagunujima, due to the possibility of usage of anti-ballistic missiles to intercept a rocket launched from North Korea. So I don't know if this footage is showing the actual interception of this North Korean rocket by a Japanese Patriot missile, but the coordinates that were given in this NOTAM warning corresponded to known locations of Japanese Patriot missile sites. Okay, so this is very, very concerning, guys. North Korea was supposed to launch another rocket satellite into space, And I don't know if this is the satellite that they were going to launch, or I don't know if this is some kind of missile that they were going to test. Here's the actual NOTAM, okay, that was posted. Says here, all VFR aircraft are requested to avoid flying in the following airspace due to the anti-ballistic missiles may be launched for the destruction of an object propelled by rocket launch from North Korean airspace. And then it lists the coordinates here and the islands. Okay, so maybe Japan actually shot down the rocket that was carrying this satellite. And that's what we're looking at here, which would be huge if Japan actually did that. That would be absolutely huge. I mean, I don't know what else this could be. Okay, a huge kaboom in the middle of the air. Very concerning. And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply has brought back their 25% discount on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the discount, you got to use the link preparewithNYPrepper.com. And the link is in the description below this video. But this 3-month emergency food supply has a 25-year shelf life. It includes over 2,000 calories per day, breakfasts, lunches, dinners, drinks, and snacks, all contained within 6 rugged water-resistant buckets, and free shipping is included. So use the link preparewithNYPrepper.com to get $200 off or 25% off of the My Patriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply. The link is in the description below this video. Free shipping is included. They also have a general store where they sell all kinds of prepping and survival products, and they're always running various discounts. And to get to their general store, you just got to click on the My Patriot Supply logo when you get to preparewithNYPrepper.com at the top of the page, and you'll see their general store where they sell all kinds of prepping and survival products, and they're always running discounts here. So use the link preparewithNYPrepper.com to get 25% off of the My Patriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply, and the link is in the description below this video. And right now at this hour, we have a U.S. Air Force Cobra Ball heading back from the Yellow Sea, and the Cobra Ball planes are used to detect the trajectories of rockets and missiles. So this thing was hanging out here in the Yellow Sea for a while. And yesterday, like I said, we had 3 nuclear war command and control planes, one off the coast of New Jersey near the Hudson Canyon, one in the Gulf of Mexico, and then one went out into the Pacific. Now, what's interesting is 2 of these nuclear war command and control planes had the same call sign, PROS 56. The one that went out into the Atlantic and the one that went out into the Gulf, both of them had the same call sign, which is extremely weird. And then yesterday, we also had about 8 KC-46 Pegasus planes moved from Travis Air Force Base to Wichita, Kansas. Now, the base in Kansas is an aerial refueling base, and Travis Air Force Base is the West Coast home base of our nuclear war command and control planes. So very interesting. A very large number of large aerial refuelers going to Kansas yesterday. Why, I am not totally sure. I don't know if they're preparing for a deployment overseas to Europe potentially, and they moved them to Kansas to get some maintenance before going over there. I have no idea. And it looks like Ukraine took out another Russian over-the-horizon radar, this time in the Orenburg region. And what you're looking at here is the location of where this radar was before the Ukrainians took it offline with UAV strikes. Okay, this is a Voronezh M radar, and it's an early warning radar system designed for aircraft and ballistic missile monitoring. Again, in the Orenburg region, and you can see the area that it was covering roughly corresponding to the Middle East. And the other radar that the Ukrainians took down also covered a similar location. So I don't know if Ukraine is planning a big strike on Crimea and they're trying to take down these radars to kind of create a big blind spot over the Black Sea. But we'll have to wait and see. Here's a picture of the first over the horizon radar that the Ukrainians took offline. This one was a little bit closer to Ukraine, and the one they took down yesterday in Orenburg is 1,500 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. Okay, so very, very concerning. And we know that Russian nuclear war doctrine allows them to use nuclear weapons if their early warning systems are attacked. They consider that the same thing as an attack on their nuclear forces. Okay. And Sweden has officially allowed Ukraine to use Swedish weapons to destroy targets in Russia. So that means Ukraine will now be able to fire at Russian territory with Swedish weapons, specifically the Archer, which is a long range artillery system with a range of up to 60 kilometers. Okay. So Sweden is allowing Ukraine to use Swedish weapons to destroy targets in Russia. And I have no doubt that other European allies will follow suit. And then we're going to see a big escalation. Russia has already put their tactical nuclear weapons on full combat alert. They've been doing these so-called drills with Belarus, but they're not actually drills. They're just arming their Iskander missiles, and all their tactical nuclear forces are basically on standby now. Okay. So it's very possible that Putin could use tactical nukes. We'll have to wait and see. Apparently, Russian attack helicopters have started arriving in large numbers in Belarus for the first time since August of last year. So that's another sign that Russia and Belarus are planning to do something in Ukraine beyond just what we see on the front lines right now. And what you're looking at here is video footage coming out of Zaporizhia in Ukraine. This is the Zaporizhia International Airport, and it was hit by some kind of Russian missile. You can see the whole airport building here completely destroyed. Okay. So Russia is continuing to make gains along the entire front line. And according to the president of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, Russia is apparently massing another big group of troops about 90 kilometers away from the Ukrainian border near the Sumy Oblast. Okay, so very concerning. Here we have some new footage coming out of Russia showing a large number of Russian tanks and fuel trucks and armored vehicles heading towards Ukraine. Okay. And the EU is facing a record number of external and internal enemies who pose an existential threat to the bloc, according to the French President Emmanuel Macron. And the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen urged the EU to prepare for war and invest in new weapons systems and ammunition production. And Ukraine is not expected to join NATO in the next 30 years, according to the Chancellor of Germany, Olaf Scholz. Now, want to just show you guys something about this video. You can see that new marking that the Russians are using on their equipment, the rune of Gungnir, which symbolizes Odin's spear. Okay. So this is their new marking. It's a diamond with an X over it. So they're not using the Z anymore. They're using a diamond with an X, which represents the rune of Gungnir. And Russia is waging a large-scale campaign in Europe to disrupt military supplies to Ukraine. According to the New York Times, U.S. intelligence officials and allies are tracking an increase in low-level sabotage operations in Europe that they believe are part of a Russian campaign to undermine efforts to provide military support to Ukraine, according to the New York Times. Among such operations, the publication cites in particular the arson attacks on a warehouse in England, a paint factory in Poland, residential buildings in Latvia, and an IKEA store in Lithuania. So very concerning, guys. And We had an X 2.8 class solar flare earlier today that went kaboom on the far side of the sun, just beyond the sun's southeastern limb. It could have originated from sunspot AR 3664, which is the sunspot that generated the global auroras on May the 10th. Okay, so this thing could still be packing a lot of solar flares, and it's going to rotate around and face Earth later this week. Okay, that's the giant sunspot, okay, that generated all those X class flares 2 weeks ago and generated the global auroras. It's turning around towards us again, and it just generated an X 2.8. Okay. And the Iranian armed forces are preparing for an upcoming military exercise in Venezuela this summer. Wow. So Iran is going to be doing exercises with Venezuela. Now, Hezbollah and Hamas have already sent some of their troops to Venezuela to help Venezuela dig a tunnel system. So if they do go to war with the U.S. over Guyana, then they're going to have these Viet Cong style, Hamas style tunnels in Venezuela that are going to make it very difficult for allied forces to fight against them. And we have more activity today in the Baltics and Poland. Here we have an Italian AWACS plane patrolling the eastern border of Poland with Belarus. We also have a German Air Force C-130 that landed in Suwali in Lithuania. And then there was a German Air Force A400 Airbus that landed in Vilnius. Okay, so lots of military cargo planes going to Lithuania the last few weeks, 2 of them today. This is a huge sign, guys, that something is about to go down here in the Baltics. If they're sending all these military cargo planes to Lithuania, that means that they're rushing to move tanks and equipment and troops to protect Lithuania from an attack from Belarus. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I hope you guys have a great Memorial Day, and remember the reason for the holiday. It's not for barbecuing, it's to remember and honor those who gave everything for our freedom so we can sit here in our living rooms and watch YouTube and relax on this day and grill with our family. It's all because of those brave men and women who gave everything. Okay, so please keep them in your thoughts and prayers, and their families in your thoughts and prayers. And I might be back later on tonight with another update. I will be monitoring our nuclear forces, and if anything changes, I'll let you know. But huge breaking news coming out of North Korea. Looks like Japan may have shot down a North Korean rocket, and Israeli and Egyptian forces have exchanged gunfire. So until later on or tomorrow, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere. Culinary out.